YTV Gazette, VTR 1115, Part 1, Take 1.
Excuse me, sir. Have you booked for lunch?
No, should I have?
No.
Is it table for one?
Yes, unless I can find somebody enchanting to eat with me.
If you can wait 15 minutes, sir, so I'll find you a suitable table.
I'm in no great hurry. Whiskey, please.
Hello, Walters.
Hello, sir. Do you mind if I join you?
By all means. Oh, I didn't know this place was a haunt of yours.
Well, it isn't yet.
Well, they do you a damn good meal.
Sure.
You don't sound convinced.
Well, I'm convinced it's a good restaurant. I'm not convinced it's a good investment for Mr. Hadley.
James thinking of putting money in it?
No, he's thinking of putting me into it. He thinks I ought to lunch here at least once a week, you know, show the flag, make contacts.
Hope he's paying.
No, the paper's paying.
Same thing.
Well, it isn't really. It's in my interest, too, that our hard-earned profits aren't squandered on living it up.
Huh. You better have a sandwich then,
No,
Walters.
that would spoil the image. For Mr. Hadley, not me.
You don't have to impress me.
Oh, cheers.
Good health.
What have you been doing this morning, Colonel?
I've been attending a meeting of the governors at Deepdean School.
Ah, yes, you're chairman, aren't you?
For my sins.
Don't tell me running a girls' school's tougher than running a magistrate's court.
Well, I'm not very good at handling recalcitrant women.
Well, you get them in court, too, occasionally, don't you?
The sort of women I meet in the dock don't usually have degrees in sociology with first-class honours, thank God.
Miss Barrett.
You know her?
Yes, I've met her once. I thought she was remarkably attractive for a headmistress.
It makes it all the more damn difficult. You know, I'm under considerable pressure to give her the sack.
Why?
Been sending out her sixth formers doing social work, helping old-age pensioners with their shopping, cleaning up their rooms, generally assisting the less fortunate members of the community, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah, well, I'm all for that.
It's up to a point. Some of the parents object.
On what grounds?
Well, that they've paid for an expensive private education for their daughters, not to have them sent out charring in the local slums.
It's a pretty uncharitable view to take.
Well, they got a point. They don't want the daughters exposed to all the sordid goings-on of these people. That's why the girls are sent to Deepdean.
You still think like that in 1968?
Some of them feel so strongly about it, they threaten to take the daughters away. That could be a serious blow to the school. What's brought it all to a head is that one of the girls complained that she went to help out an old man and he assaulted her.
I think you ought to have lunch with me, Colonel. I'm sure Mr. Hadley would think it good value. Waiter!
How much? 6. Cheers. Excuse me, could you tell me where I can find your headmistress?
Miss Barrett? Yes, if you go along to the porter's lodge, just inside the main door on the right. He'll take you up to her.
Thank you very much.
Yes? No, that's quite right. Send him along straight away, please. Well, now, Julia.
My mother wants me to try Somerville, Miss Barrett.
Was your mother at Somerville?
Oh, no.
Well, it's Oxford, of course, but it's rather on the blue stocking side, Julia. It was in my day, at least. I'm not sure that you'd be all that happy there.
No?
I think Sussex would suit you better. I'm told it swings, and they have an excellent English faculty.
It's a long way from home.
That won't do you any harm. Well, we'll put Somerville as first choice and Sussex second. How's that?
Fine. Do you really think I'd like Sussex?
Oh, I'm sure you would. Well, there's the visitor I'm expecting. Show him in, will you, Julia? Come in, Mr. Spence.
Thank you, Miss Barrett.
Did you have an awful time getting here?
No, I took a taxi.
I should have sent someone to fetch you. I'm sorry, I thought about it too late.
Not a bit of it. I'm putting you to enough trouble as it is.
Would you like some tea or something?
Not for me, love. Thanks.
I've never been interviewed before. Not quite sure what I'm supposed to be. A hostess or submissive victim?
Were you nervous?
A bit.
Well, you know, I'm nervous at the beginning of interviews, too. Asking nosy questions is always a kind of impertinence. And I never know when a person's going to realise that and throw me out.
Does that happen to you often?
Well, not very often, no, thank God.
I can promise not to throw you out, Mr. Spence. I'm not strong enough anyway.
Thank you very much.
What was it you wanted to talk to me about?
Well, I've heard that some parents are objecting to their girls doing welfare work.
Oh, that. Have they been writing letters to your editor about it?
No, I don't think so, not yet.
And how did you hear about it?
Well, the editor heard it, didn't tell me where.
Not from Mr. Hadley.
No, I'd know if it came from Hadley.
Oh.
Is it true?
Yes. Unfortunately.
Do you think the parents' objections are justified in any way?
Let me tell you something about this school first.
Sure.
It was founded about 100 years ago to make ladies out of the daughters of uncouth, nouveau riche millowners. The idea was that the daughters, who already had money, would pick up a few social graces, and so possibly pick up a lord for a husband as well. The reasons for the school's existence were social and snobbish, not academic. Deep Dean, horse riding and not eating peas with your knife have always been more important than A-levels and what goes on in the world outside. I have been changing all that.
And how long have you been at the school?
A year last April.
And how long have the girls been doing this welfare work?
We started the scheme about 3 months ago. Just for the older girls, the sixth formers.
Do the girls enjoy it?
Most of them. About 90%, I'd say.
And what about the parents? What percentage of them object to the scheme?
I've had letters from about a third of the parents. A high proportion of those objecting strongly.
On what grounds?
That they're not paying $150 a term, that's what the boarders pay, for their daughters to be sent out slumming.
And what's your answer to those parents?
I've told them, as politely as I can, that I run the school, not them. If they object so much to my scheme, they'd be best advised to find another school.
And have they?
What?
Found other schools?
Some have threatened to...
Then why do you insist on sending the girls out slumming?
So that they're made aware of how the old, the helpless, and the poor have to live. They're still with us, you know.
Oh, yes.
I want my girls to be aware of life as it's lived outside the well-insulated homes of their parents. My job's not to put blinkers on children, even though that may be what their parents want, but to widen their vision, enlarge their sympathies, so that when they leave here, they'll be able to make their own enlightened choices, and not merely blindly adopt their parents' attitudes. That's what education's all about, being made aware of realities.
Yes, I like that definition.
I'm glad. You disappoint me, Mr. Spence.
Why? Because I don't share your enthusiasm. It's not my job, Miss Barrett. My job is to report your enthusiasm.
So you set out to elicit it. Is that quite fair?
I think so, yes. We've got nearer the truth than if we'd sat here cosily sharing a pot of tea.
I underestimated you just now.
Good. That always helps a reporter.
I've not had much experience of reporters, but are you always as frank as this with people?
No, only the intelligent ones.
Quite a flatterer, too.
I mean it.
Maybe. I have the feeling that you want to ask me something rather tricky. What is it?
Well, I've heard that there's a move by some of the governors to get you dismissed.
I hadn't heard that. Why?
Well, one of your girls, while out slumming, says she was assaulted.
Says.
You don't believe her?
It's not uncommon for adolescent girls falsely to accuse men of assaulting them.
Not uncommon for it actually to happen.
Not in this case. I've seen the girl, and I'm sure it didn't happen. She invented it.
Why, do you think?
She's a difficult girl. She's not happy at home, she's not happy at school. I know she doesn't like social work. She's not really interested in other people. There are a few girls I find it impossible to get at. I'm afraid she's one of them.
And her parents were among those who complained, of course.
Naturally.
What kind of people are they?
Very prosperous local business family.
Did you report the complaint to the police?
Yes, reluctantly. They saw her, but they weren't any more impressed than I was. They took no further action.
Could I see her?
Certainly not. I'm not having one of my girls talk about that sort of thing to a reporter.
Well, could I perhaps talk to the parents?
Well, I'm not putting you in touch with them. The sooner the incident is forgotten, the better.
Yeah, but it's not going to be forgotten. The governors are gunning for you because of it. Now, why don't you help me investigate it and prove it false?
Because I'm not having a child in my care interviewed by the press over a sexual matter.
Well, if this allegation isn't nailed, it could cost you your job.
That's just too bad.
Well, could I perhaps talk to one of the other girls? You know, go visiting an old lady or something. I'd like to see your scheme in action.
Yes, we can arrange that.
If it's a good scheme, you know, I'll say so. I'd like to be on your side.
And if it's a bad scheme, you'll presumably say so. I'll send you out with Julia Gill. She's the girl who showed you in just now.
Ah, yes.
Would tomorrow afternoon suit you?
Yes, fine.
4 o'clock then. Bye, Mr. Spence.
Goodbye, Miss Barrett. And good luck.
Hello, James Hadley.
James? Georgina Barrett.
Georgina?
Do you remember that dinner you promised me? Well, I'm free tonight.
Well, by a happy coincidence, so am I. Well, I'd be delighted to take you to dinner. Shall we say 7 o'clock? I'll come and pick you up.
That'll be lovely. I look forward to seeing you then. Goodbye, James.
Goodbye.
I think Miss Barrett's all right. More than all right, in fact.
A real charmer, a very attractive woman.
We ought to help her, you know. Why don't you write a thundering leader in her defence? Miss Barrett defies the backwoodsman.
Not yet. You've got a lot of work to do before we take sides.
But she is right, though, isn't she? Her attitudes are the paper's attitudes. I mean, we're not toe-the-liners either.
I'm not writing any thundering leaders about a well-meaning gimmick.
Well, I don't think it's a gimmick. You know she got a first in sociology.
That doesn't impress me.
Perhaps I must be sold on Miss Barrett.
Then get unsold. You've got to see these girls doing their social work first. Make sure that someone, either they themselves or the people they're helping, is getting some benefit out of it. And the girl who is supposed to have been assaulted. See her, talk to the parents, and find the man who is supposed to have committed the assault. The girl's story may be true, in which case the parents are fully justified in complaining.
Well, I'll have to take another taxi tomorrow.
Oh, no, you won't. Use my car, charge the petrol. You say Miss Barrett is quite prepared to lose her job over this issue?
Well, not without a fight, of course.
Yeah, well, I distrust the motives of people who want to make martyrs of themselves.
Well, I didn't say she wanted to.
Just trying to look at it objectively, as every newspaper man should.
Well, I think it's simple. Miss Barrett is right.
Well, I still want to know about her motives. She's an attractive woman. Why isn't she married? Is there a man in her life?
Well, I wouldn't know, would I?
Well, it's important to know. Is she just a well-balanced, normal woman who wants purely as a professional teacher to improve the standing of her school? Or perhaps she's a frustrated lesbian, bent on molding the lives of adolescent girls?
Well, she seemed perfectly normal to me.
Why, did you make a pass at her?
Why, I beg your pardon, I'm a perfectly happily married man.
Well, I'd like to know how she behaves with someone who isn't.
Thank you.
What a splendid dinner.
I'm very glad you're enjoying it.
Never dined anywhere before where my host ordered a special meal 4 hours in advance. That was clever. Very thoughtful of you.
Well, it's a ridiculously smoother thing to do, but it does work. It makes you take trouble, doesn't it? Right, thank you.
I'm very flattered.
Do you know you're one of the few women I know who'd appreciate it?
I do enjoy going out with you.
I'm glad. I've certainly got very few friends left in Yorkshire, you know. 4, 5 maybe.
All women?
No. You're the only one.
Oh, James, you must be missing London.
Less and less. Yorkshire has its compensations, you know. Less competition, for one.
Oh?
Well, in London, you'd never have dinner with me alone. You'd be far too much in demand.
No. I'd be even more out of place in London than I appear to be here.
Now, look, you're not still bothering about my uncle, are you?
It obviously was Colonel Chamberlain who leaked the story to your paper, paving the way for getting rid of me.
Colonel Chamberlain has very little influence over my paper.
He has over my board of governors.
Oh, less than you think. He's nice, you know, but he's a very stupid man.
It doesn't make him any easier to deal with.
Well, it should do.
Running a school's a touchy job, James. Doesn't leave much over to deal with the Chamberlains of this world as well. Unsupported as I am.
Georgina, you are not unsupported.
I don't want you to start a family feud on my behalf. Thank you all the same.
Well, we're starting anything. We fight all the time.
Then what can you do?
Well, nothing will appear in my paper that's in any way critical of you, I can guarantee that.
What will appear?
Well, if public opinion has to be swayed, let's see that it's swayed in your direction. Not Chamberlain's way, not the governor's way, and certainly not the parents' way. Look, you want to pitchfork that old school of yours into the second half of the 20th century, right?
Right.
All right, then, let's see it's done.
I'm waiting for this wretched report.
Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
Hello, are you Mr. Spence?
And you're Julia. We met in Miss Barrett's study.
Yes, we'll have to run. I think we're going to miss the bus.
I hope so. I've got a car.
Oh, marvellous. I've got 2 old ladies to see and some shopping to do. You can drive me around, if you don't mind.
I'm entirely in your hands, love. If I can make myself useful, so much the better.
You're not going to watch me all the time and write down every silly thing I say.
No. I promise.
That's a relief.
I just want to gather an impression of this noble work that you're doing.
There's nothing noble about it. It's a bit of a drag, really.
You don't like doing social work?
Oh, yes. I'd rather be doing something about Vietnam, though.
What, you mean going on demonstrations?
Oh, no. Going out there and doing something about it, like being a nurse or something. All those poor children being burned and wounded with no one to look after them. I think it's terrible.
Well, you're right, though, it is.
Our old people need help, of course, but...
But what?
Of course, some of them are rather tiresome. Even when they need help, they don't really want to be helped. They get quite fierce about it.
Well, they're independent.
Oh, of course. Poor old things. It must be rotten for them to realise that no one cares for them except some rather dreary schoolgirls doing their good turn.
Do you think that you learn anything?
Oh, yes. Nothing you will put your finger on, of course. But seeing what dismal lives some people still have to live, well, you wonder about things.
What do you think of Miss Barrett?
I think she's super. Very modern and with it. You can talk to her, not like the last head. She was a terrible old dragon.
Do the other girls like her?
Oh, she's very popular. Ever since she let the older girls wear their own things instead of those ghastly gym slips.
I noticed you were a pretty smart bunch.
Do you think so?
Ooh, I do.
She won't let us wear minis, of course, or too much makeup. But it does make you feel, well, human. You can feel an awful freak in a gym slip.
Well, I certainly would. Where do we go first?
Do you know Milner Street?
Is that where we're going?
Yes, number 37. That's where Mrs. Wright lives. She's my nice old lady. She's got terrible arthritis and can't get around much, but she's an old dear. I always go to her first.
Why's that?
Oh, because Mrs. Wright is very sweet and makes me feel I've been terribly good and useful, even if I haven't. My other old lady, old Mrs. Parsons, She's rather bad-tempered and depressing, very gloom-making.
I see. So you go to Mrs. Wright first to put you in a good mood for Mrs. Parsons?
That's it. Good psychology, don't you think?
I do. I think it's wonderful psychology. Jump in.
Who is it?
It's Julia, Mrs. Wright.
Oh, Julia. Just a minute, love. Ah, you're nice and early.
Yes, I know. I got a lift. I hope you don't mind. This is Mr. Spence from the Gazette, and he's come with me to see if I'm any good to anyone.
Oh, is she any good to anyone? Come in, Mr. Spence.
I hope you don't mind me barging in, love.
No, no. Julia's so welcome here. She can bring who she likes, as long as she brings herself.
I'm so clumsy that one day I'll drop something, and then you'll give me the sack.
Oh, never. I can't tell you, Mr. Spence, what her visits mean to me.
I bring chaos into her life, Mr. Spence. I put all the ornaments back in the wrong places, and she spends the rest of the week fretting about it. I'm sure I drive her mad.
The shepherd boy, just a bit to the left there.
You see, I'm hopelessly incompetent.
I say, I'm making this quilt for her for the winter. Do you think she'll like it?
Oh, she'll be delighted.
Is that right?
Well, that's just perfect, Julia.
I'm learning. Oh, I forgot to ask. How have you been this week?
Oh, not so bad, love.
Have you heard from your daughter in Canada?
No.
Oh.
Well, she must be busy with the children. I expect I'll hear next week.
I'm sure you will. Do you need any shopping done?
Yes, there are a few things I'd like. I made a list. It's
I'll
up
get
here
it, love.
somewhere. Oh, no, the other. That's it, down there. That's right.
Would you like to do the shopping while I finish up here?
Yes, certainly, yes.
You can walk it. The shops are only a few yards down the road.
Well, the exercise will do me good.
And I can have a little gossip with Mrs. Wright while you're gone.
Well, now, you'll be needing a bit of this stuff, won't you? Oh, and I'll give you a key so you don't bother the folks downstairs. And we'll have a nice cup of tea for you when you get back, won't we, Julia?
We might even give him a biscuit.
Well, I'll see you later.
Mind how you go. There's not much light down there. Now, we can have our little chat.
Hello, love, it's me.
You going to be late home again?
Maybe, I don't know yet. Listen, how much should you pay for potatoes?
Older, you?
Well, I don't know, which are cheaper?
Older, always cheaper. They shouldn't be more than £4 a pound.
Oh, that's all right, this bloke only wants threepence.
What on earth are you doing?
I'm shopping for an old age pensioner.
I thought you were supposed to be a journalist.
Yes, I am, but I'm shopping for this old bird. Never mind why. Now, she's given me £1, which is probably all she's got, so I don't want her bankrupt by shopping like an idiot.
But you are an idiot when it comes to shopping.
I know that, and that is why I'm phoning you. Now, it's £6 all right for a lettuce.
Marvellous.
4 and 6 a dozen eggs.
Great.
Stew and steak, 3 and 6.
Where are these shops? It sounds just a place I've been looking for.
It's miles away, but these prices are okay, are they?
You could do better.
I thought you said I was an idiot shopping.
You did.
It's all right, I'll see you later, love. Bye-bye.
I said to her, I said, well, you needn't make so much noise about it.
Oh,
keep still. He doesn't mind seeing you having your nails done.
Well, I feel such a fool. You know, when you get arthritis in your fingers, there's so many little things you can't do anymore.
I'll put your change on here, love.
Oh, thanks.
Shall I take this in the kitchen?
Oh, yes, please. There's a cup of tea there for you.
Ah, thank you.
I should have brought some nail varnish. What colour do you like? Bright red?
At my age, I'd look like an old witch. No, I'm a bit old for that sort of thing.
He's good, isn't he? I hope he hasn't forgotten anything.
Oh, I'm sure he won't have. Thanks very much, Mr. Spence.
That's all right, love.
See what Julia's done? Doesn't everything look nice?
Lovely.
I've just rearranged the dust, that's all.
She's a very good girl, Mr. Spence. I wish I had a granddaughter like her. Here, I mean. Not that I need one while Julia comes to see me.
I'll be back again next week.
I shall count the days, love.
I've finished. Are you ready, Mr. Spence?
Yes.
Oh, you're not going already, are you? It seems only 2 minutes since you came here.
Well, goodbye, love, and thank you very much for the tea.
That's all right.
Goodbye, Mrs. Wright. Take care of yourself.
Goodbye, dear. See you next week.
Your keys, love.
Ah, yes. Look in any time you pass.
Well, she was a nice old girl.
Oh, she's sweet. Her only daughter's in Canada. She's got no one else. There's a niece in Liverpool who comes to see her once a year, that's all.
Well, she certainly liked you. In fact, I was most impressed with what you did for her.
Oh, it was nothing. Some cleaning and dusting, a bit of girlish chatter. It's all I'm capable of.
Well, I'm going to give you full marks, Alpha Plus.
Wait until you see the next one.
Who's that?
It's Julia, Mrs. Parsons.
What do you want?
I've come to see if you're all right.
I'm all right.
Shall we come back later?
No, it's all right. Can't I come in and see if you want anything?
Just a minute. Who's that with you?
It's Mr. Spence from the Gazette.
What does he want?
Oh, he's come with me to see what I do and to find out what's happening to old people.
I can tell him all about that. Come in, then.
Would you like me to open a window?
No! It's cold. You feel the cold when you get older.
Supposing I open the window and light the fire.
Well, if you have a shilling to put in the meter, I haven't.
I'll do it.
We're in a bit of a mess here, aren't we?
And that shouldn't worry you. You only come here once a week. I live here.
Don't you mind the mess, love?
Nobody else cares. Why should I?
I care.
Do you care enough to come here and live for a week and look after me? It would take a week to clear this place up.
You know I couldn't. I've got all my schoolwork to do.
Do you know what I live on?
No, I don't know.
£4.10 a week. And £1 of that goes on rent. £4.10. I bet her father spends more on that swank college she goes to. Put that in your paper.
Well, haven't you got any family?
Aye. 3 boys, 2 girls.
Well, can't they help you?
Troubles enough of their own without me adding to them, so they keep telling me.
Well, what about the social security people?
It's not up to them to help me, any more than it's up to her.
Well, who is it up to then?
Them that owe it to me.
Your family?
They don't want me. They don't like me.
Well, why wouldn't you let me help you then?
Because you're useless.
Now, that's not a very kind thing to say, is it, Grandma?
I've had very little kindness shown to me. What use is half an hour's kindness in a week? She does it for herself, not me.
I don't do it for myself.
Have you a cigarette?
Have you any shopping you'd like me to do?
That old rip of a landlady did it yesterday.
Well, there you are, you see. People are kind. They do want to help you.
Diddled me out of 2 shillings of me change. That's what her kindness meant. Kindness is never free. They all want something in return. Money, gratitude, love, something for nothing.
It's not like that at all.
Makes them feel superior. Looking at a poor, dirty old bitch like me'd make anyone feel superior.
That isn't the reason why I'm trying.
You're a very superior young woman, aren't you?
I'm only trying to help.
I don't want your help.
I'll try to come again next week.
Did that upset you much?
I didn't cope too well, did I?
I thought you did very well.
For a kid. Except I'm not a kid.
She was an exceptionally horrible old woman.
She's very unhappy. She's not always as bad as that.
Maybe it was me being there.
Maybe.
Will you go back again?
I suppose so.
But you don't want to?
No.
Why go back then?
I've got to.
You mean Miss Barrett would make you go back?
No, I've just got to. She's the sort of person who really needs help.
You'd go back even though she's nasty to you?
Yes.
You're a very courageous girl.
No, obstinate, that's all.
I bet plenty of the other girls wouldn't go back.
They would.
What about that girl who says she was assaulted?
Audrey Miller?
Yeah.
She wouldn't. She hated welfare work anyway.
Do you think she really was assaulted?
She may have had her bottom pinched, but what's that? Still, she made such a fuss about it, her parents have kept her at home ever since.
And she's not a boarder like you?
No, she lives in town. Her father is Miller of that big furniture store.
Oh, I know the one you mean.
I think she invented it all so that she could dodge the exams. She's an awful duffer at everything, except boys. She's good at getting them.
Well, goodbye, Julia, and thank you very much. You've given me a good story.
It's an awful story, really.
Goodbye, Mrs. Spence.
Goodbye, Ellen.
Water or soda, James?
Soda, please.
And what brings you here all of a sudden?
Look, I'm sorry, Uncle.
Oh, don't be sorry. I'm always pleased to see you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry you didn't see fit to get in touch with me.
You're a damn touchy fellow, James. Now, what's it all about?
You and Walters, you've been flying a kite, haven't you? That Georgina Barrett? Well, if you're going to use my paper for that sort of manoeuvre, I think you should tell me.
Walter's been telling you about this?
No. Georgina.
I didn't realize that she was a friend of yours.
She has been for some time.
You're a dark horse, aren't you? Yes, I did mention my problem to Walters. I wanted one or two wider reactions on what Miss Barrett's been up to. Nothing sinister about my motives. I'm just damned if I know what to do about it.
Well, why should it be your problem? You've got 6 other governors. Why don't you let that awful Jerry Green handle it?
They're split. 3 want to sack her and 3 don't. Therefore, as chairman, I have to make the decision.
And what's that decision going to be?
Well, frankly, I'd like to get shot of her. I see no reason why she should turn the school upside down because of her crackpot social theories.
Well, I think her ideas are very sensible, Uncle.
You do? Oh, well, I suppose I'm old-fashioned then. I try to keep up with the times, much as I dislike them. That is why I approached Walters.
Yes, well, why don't you just tell the governors to let her get on with the job? They don't know any more about education than you do, and you're not the greatest educationist in the world, are you?
Oh, no. We try to run the school as a going concern. Miss Barrett's methods could easily break us.
Or make you.
How?
By elevating Deep Dean from a somewhat stuffy provincial academy to a school of some standing.
I never thought of that.
When do you have to decide?
There's a governor's meeting next week.
Well, tell him that.
I've got to have some convincing arguments, James.
Oh.
There's this business of the girl being assaulted.
Now, was she, in fact?
I don't know. She and her parents complained that she was. That's good enough.
I see. So the governors make their decisions on allegations, do they, not facts?
Very well, then you find the facts. The Gazette's got the machinery to collect the facts. You've got the brains to evaluate them. I will be guided by you. I'll decide on your advice.
All right. That's fair.
It's a load off my mind. I can tell you that.
Well, seems to be a very fair, balanced report.
It's a nice piece of work. I'll run it as it is.
What about the girl who alleges she was assaulted?
Oh, you don't need that anymore.
Well, why not? It's the linchpin. Look, Spence has got her name and address there. Why didn't you let him go and see her?
Well, it doesn't help us. The account of Julia dealing with this difficult old bitch puts the problem into perspective very nicely. You know, the sort of snags the girls run into, does it doing them any harm? Well, in this case, no. The account's very favourable to Miss Barrett and the pupils, I'm glad.
Yeah, well, I'm committed, I'm afraid, to clearing up the allegations made by this girl, one way or the other.
Well, if we inquire into that, we're going to have an awful job publishing the results.
Ah, I see.
Unless we can prove the assault. The old man's going to sue us for libel. We can't mention any names, we can't afford to identify anybody. We'd be left with one of those it is alleged type of stories that I've always hated and so have you. So, we skip it.
No, we can't, I'm afraid. I told Chamberlain we'd get the facts. He'd give them to the governors, and then on those facts, they'd decide whether Miss Barrett keeps a job or not.
Ah, well, that's different. That's a story. Good story.
Now, you can't exploit Miss Barrett in that way.
Why not?
Because she's a friend of mine.
Well, now she's news. And we're running a newspaper, not a private inquiry agency.
I've got all this to do.
You're going to put Spence on it, are you?
No, he's tied up. I can't spare him.
Yes, well, I don't think Susan is a girl to throw to a dirty old man, do you?
Then who do you suggest?
You.
Me?
Yes, it's important, delicate.
You know, I never realized you thought of me of having a delicate touch.
Oh, I think you could handle it, don't you?
Shandy. Shandy, for goodness sake, be quiet. Oh, good afternoon. Yes, it's Mr. Walters, isn't it?
Right, I rang anything else.
Yes, do come in. Do go in, Mr. Walters, but if you'll excuse me, I'll just shut the dog in the kitchen. Shandy, now, be a good boy. That's it. There, that's better. Oh, do sit down, Mr. Walters. I'm sorry my husband isn't here, but you can guess how busy he is.
Oh, that's all right. I'm sure you know more about your daughter than he does, and it's her I want to talk about.
Have you seen Miss Barrett?
One of my reporters did.
You're the editor, aren't you? You must think it very important to come here yourself.
I do.
That's not what Miss Barrett thought. Cigarette?
Thank you.
She didn't believe Audrey. She just dismissed it all as nothing.
Well, not quite nothing. The impression we got from the school was that Audrey had exaggerated the incident, if there was an incident, in order to get out of doing the social work.
Well, she should never have been made to do it in the first place. I certainly didn't want her traipsing round those filthy slums. But, of course, I was never asked.
Why are you against it?
Why? Well, just look at the sort of people she had to mix with. You don't need to ask why.
Well, they're unfortunate people, mostly.
Unfortunate? My foot! Do you know any of those people?
A few.
You fall for their hard luck stories. You surprise me, Mr. Walters. I never thought journalists were fooled that easy.
We're very hard to fool.
Really?
Have you ever lived in a slum?
Don't play on my sympathy, because I've got none. Not for them, certainly.
Why so bitter if you've never lived in a slum?
Sharp, aren't you?
I said we weren't easily fooled.
All right. I came from those slums. And so did my husband. And we both hated it and everything in it and everything about it. We fought our way out of it. But the rest of the people there, they didn't fight, oh no. They were full of grumbles. But deep down, they liked it. They were cosy, like pigs in muck. Oh, you should hear my husband go on about them. About the characters who so-called work in his factory. Unfortunate? No bloody good is what you mean.
It's a point of view.
It's a first-hand point of view. I never want to know that place again or the people in it, and I don't want my daughter to know them either. That's why I sent her to Deepdene, to get as far away from them as possible.
Where's Audrey now?
Here. At home, where I can keep an eye on her. She's had a very nasty shock.
I'm told she's missing her exams.
What does she want with passing exams? She'll never have to earn her own living, thank God.
So the education you're paying for at Deepdene doesn't really matter?
All that matters to us is that she's mixing with a decent class of people. At least she was until that silly cow with her daft ideas took over.
I know you don't like talking about it, Mrs. Miller, but I have to ask, what did happen with this old man?
He said something to her, then he put his hand up her skirt and grabbed her, filthy old beast.
Is that all?
That's enough for a child of 17, isn't it?
Yes, of course. You have every right to be angry. Do you know who the old man was?
His name's Pendlebury. He lives in Oswald Street. And I wish you could get him put away.
Could I have a word with Audrey?
I think she's in.
Alone? Well, I think you can trust me. I've got a daughter of my own.
I'll send her in. Audrey? Audrey?
Hmm? The editor of the Gazette's here. Look. Who? The editor, and I want you to tell him what you told your father and me. Now, there's no need to be frightened. Don't worry about it, because...
Right. Hello.
Hello, Audrey. Mind if I ask you a few questions?
Go ahead.
Now, you don't have to answer any of them, so if my questions make you feel awkward, we'll talk about the Beatles or something.
Do you know them?
Well, I've met Paul a couple of times, Ringo once.
Oh. What are they like?
Do you mind if we talk about you first?
All right. Are you the editor?
I try to be. Oh. Now, look, I don't want to upset you, so if you don't want to talk about it, don't. What did happen with this old man?
He touched me up.
Yeah?
He touched me up. Don't you know what that means? He tried to goose me.
Oh, and what did you do?
What do you think? I gave him a good hard slap across his dribbly old chops and ran.
So it didn't upset you too much?
Oh, yes, it did. Well, it upset me having to go out and visit all those horrible, grotty old people. I hate old people. I think they should all be put out of their misery when they reach 60. Don't you?
I don't know. I've never thought about it.
Well, I have.
But you complain bitterly about this old man.
I should think so.
Said it had given you a terrible shock.
Coming from him, it did. Mind if I put a record on?
So the shock didn't last long?
About 2 seconds, I suppose.
But your mother seems to think it's lasted for this past week.
Well, they expect it of you, don't they? If you just shrugged it off, they'd think you were up to something.
And are you?
Who, me?
Miss Barrett's been put in a very difficult position by all this.
Oh, what a drag that woman is with all her boring doing good. People like that have nothing better to do, I suppose.
Thank you, Audrey. Say goodbye to your mother for me, Paul.
But you haven't told me what the Beatles were like yet.
I think you'll find them terribly square.
Beauty Pendlebury, 29 Oswell Street. Come on, say it. Beauty Bloody wait. Beauty Pendlebury. What do you want?
Mr. Pendlebury?
Who wants him?
I'm from the West Hill Gazette.
You're not from welfare?
No.
Not from police?
No, from the Gazette.
Show us your card.
Huh?
Your card. Who told you about me?
I'm told you're a colourful local character.
That's right. I'm Jacko. Everybody around here knows old Jacko.
Do you want to tell me something about yourself, Jacko?
Well, I don't mind. Come on in. Have to be careful, you know. Thought you might be at welfare.
Why are you so worried about the welfare, Jacko?
They're always at me. Never stop trying to put me in home. But this is me home. It belongs to me. Bought it 45 years ago. Not bad, is it?
No, you wouldn't call it bad.
Me castle, I calls it. Been me castle since wife died. She died 30 years ago, thank God, and I've been happy ever since. King at castle, I am.
What do you do with yourself all day, Jacko?
Bet. On horses. You'll not find Gazette here. Only Sporting Life and Sporting Con. That's all I read.
You win, do you?
All time. I make money. I could show you a thing or two. Mind you, I study at it very hard.
And you do win?
Of course I do, all the time. I'm the only old age pensioner around these parts what I can afford to get drunk every night.
And you do you?
Of course I do. I loves me ale, I can tell you. That's why welfare's always after me to get put in home. There's no freedom anymore, not these days. Still, I own the house, so they can't do much. I do what I like here.
Yeah, so I've been told.
Been told that, have you? What else?
That you get a bit naughty with the welfare people sometimes?
That's right. But if they come pushing their way into my house, they have to take that risk. I mean, a man can do what he likes in his own house. I don't ask for the bloody welfare.
You had a young girl round here not long ago.
Heard about that and all, have you? By gum, what a beauty. What a beauty she was. Oh, made me feel young again.
What did you do to her, Jacko?
Just enough to frighten her away.
Well, you shouldn't have done that. She's only a kid.
They're very cunning, these welfare people. Thought they could get at me with that one and get me put away. Not old Jacko. I'm too fly for that.
You're an old rogue, Jacko.
You haven't welfare after all.
No, just interested.
I don't think I'll talk to you anymore. You can get out, mister.
As you wish, Jacko. As you wish.
And if welfare wants to have another go at me, don't you come? Send another bird like last one.
Are you all right?
Never felt better.
You sure?
Positive?
I've been reading your follow-up to my article about Julia.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun writing that. It's good, isn't it?
Well, it looked great in the New Yorker.
Thank you.
But here, in Westdale?
Well, every word of it's true.
Well, so is for every penny we've got.
More, probably.
Morning.
Good morning, Mr. Hadley.
Perhaps this is a case where we should consult our proprietor. Show him the galley bill.
Do you want me to read this now, do you?
Well, I think you should. It's a story you're very interested in. I think it reduces the issue to its proper proportion.
You can't publish this.
What are you objecting to?
What am... Miss Miller admitted that the shock she experienced lasted only for a couple of seconds. Her main objection to being goosed seems to be the age and unattractiveness of Jacko Pendlebury.
Well, I can vouch for its accuracy.
You're off your head, Walters. Mr. Pendlebury is a great aversion to welfare workers whom he regards as enemies of liberty, except when they're young, pretty and female. He freely admits to touching up. You can't print that.
Why not? It's true, it's in the public interest.
Well, they'll sue you.
The parents probably would, and they'd lose. Here's another version of the same story. It's sober, discreet, and handled with all the delicacy you seem to expect of me.
Yes, well, this is all right, perfectly all right, but that...
is what you're going to give Colonel Chamberlain. And if this alone doesn't decide him in favour of Miss Barrett, tell him I'll run it. And that I'll go for him on the leader page, and how.
You enjoyed watching me read this, didn't you?
Yes.
Well, it's nothing to the pleasure I'm going to get from watching my uncle.